Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 219 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. The first weekend of August, Metallica kicked off the final North American leg of the M72 World Tour. Opening acts included Pantera and Mammoth WVH, Five Finger Death Punch, and local Massachusetts guys Ice Nine Kills. Well, Spencer Charnas has been on the show before on episode 7 and episode 170. So I had to catch back up with him to talk about what it's like to be on the road with Metallica. Of course, we recorded this interview before the weekend concert was delayed by rain, and Ice Nine Kills didn't actually get to play on stage, which is heartbreaking. But I talked to Spencer while he was home for the weekend, staying at his mom's house, to talk about his childhood bedroom and his collection of horror memorabilia. We talked about Gojira's performance during the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Paris, the best horror movies of all time, their cover of Walking on Sunshine for the soundtrack of the American Psycho graphic novels, and collaborating with the band The Funeral Portrait. Spencer's also got a new line of collectibles coming out. And of course, we had to talk about the upcoming Silver Scream Con that's been moved to the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts, the weekend of September 13th. The day after the ill-fated Metallica show, Spencer and the guys in Ice Nine Kills announced their show at the Palladium Outdoors on Saturday night, September 14th, featuring In This Moment, Avatar, and TX2. Those tickets are on sale now. I always love it when Spencer comes back on the show, and I was really sad for him and the guys from Ice Nine Kills that they didn't get to take the stage at Gillette, but I doubt it will be their last opportunity to do so. So, allow me to reintroduce you to Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills. Oh my God, Spencer Charnas is back on the show.
So good to be here. I love you, Carrie. Thanks for having me. As always, a pleasure.
Are you kidding? That's not a hotel room because it's got way too much of your stuff in it. Are you in your parents' house right now?
I'm at my mom's spot on the North Shore, of course.
Yes, I knew it!
I keep it real when I come home. I got to stay with Mom. You can see the Jason Voorhees head on a lovely little display rack right there. I think my mom says it helps me stay close to her when I'm on tour, in faraway places. She could come into this room of horrors and see all of my disgusting collectibles over the years.
I interviewed Lilith Czar once from Andy Bierzak's childhood bedroom before the holidays, and it's always interesting to see the room that you guys grew up in at your mom's house. You came from someplace.
We got some Michael Myers here. We've got a severed head. We've got one of my most prized possessions, a Wes Craven signed Ghostface mask. Pretty
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And repping the old school Massachusetts with the Spooky World VHS cassette. Look at that.
Oh, that is old school. That's probably worth a little money on eBay.
Priceless to me, Carrie.
I heard all the bands were in town early because these dates at Gillette Stadium with Metallica are the first dates of the new leg of the North American tour. So, Zakk Wylde's in town. Already talked to him. I heard everybody's kind of roaming around getting ready for the weekend.
Everyone's in Boston. Everyone's hanging out. I know that they rehearse at the stadium, I believe, a few days before. So yeah, everyone's in town. It's a party.
We have got to talk about what this means to you, because when the tour got announced, that's when you and I talked last about the idea that you are going to be opening up for Metallica, but above that, playing on stage at Gillette Stadium with your family and your friends there. First of all, how many tickets did you have to get for the family on the guest list?
Too many. I think we actually have to request more tickets. And I'm finding out about, cousins, distant cousins I never knew I had.
Yeah, that's
No,
how it
I'm
works.
just joking. I'm joking. But yeah, a lot of friends and family are coming. And, as we talked about in the last interview, Metallica's always been one of my favorite bands. I remember seeing them at what was called the Fleet Center at the time. I think the Fleet Center was like pretty brand new. In 1997, I think probably Reload had just come out. And it was just like one of those concerts that I could close my eyes and remember like it was yesterday. So vividly still in my mind. And I remember the feeling I had leaving that show and just being blown away by their musicianship. It was almost like they took metal and it was like almost like a sporting event. It was like athletic because of the speed and ferocity that they play with. And so to literally, be 25 years later or whatever it is, playing with them, it's just in Massachusetts, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Last time you and I talked, you promised to get me tickets. I just want to let you off the hook. I got my own tickets. You don't need to ask for some for me. It's taken care of.
I guess I'll return the super VIP backstage passes.
No. I'll take those. But I was like, I'm not even going to ask Spencer because I know what it's like when bands come home that everybody wants to come. Like, what a proud moment for Mom to see you on stage with Metallica at Gillette Stadium.
It's wild, and I appreciate you saying that. You're very kind and thoughtful for not asking me for the tickets. But I'll always hook you up no matter what.
No, I know you would, but I know, from the Godsmack guys, the Stained guys, like you just know what those hometown shows are like. And it's not a bad thing because everybody wants to celebrate this momentous thing with you.
It's awesome, and I can't wait to see everybody there. And it's just one of those things where we started just driving around the North Shore today in Salem and Swampscott and Marblehead. I definitely drove by a few places that the band started at. I think one of our first shows was like a Marblehead VFW or Swampscott High School cafeteria, and there's still an Ice 9 sticker on the stop sign by the old Swampscott High School. And just to think that we started like everybody else at small little YMCA Knights of Columbus shows, and all these years later we're still doing it.
I hope it's not weird when I say that I feel like a proud auntie to see you guys, this local band, making so good that I cannot wait to see you on stage at Gillette on Sunday, because seeing these bands, you included, grow and achieve every goal you've set for yourself, it makes me so proud. I hope that's not weird.
No, that's very cool. And I love to think of you as my auntie. Anytime I could call Mistress Carrie auntie, I'm going to take the bait on that one.
Tell me about these international shows you've been doing, because these aren't just North American dates you're doing with Metallica. You have been circumventing the globe in front of some of the most rabid metal fans anywhere.
It's been an incredible experience. It all started a little over a year ago when we did the first European leg of the tour, and traveling across the world, playing in places like Madrid and Copenhagen and Helsinki and Paris, just all of these unbelievable places with one of the greatest bands of all time, and seeing how this music it really is like that, as cheesy as it sounds, it's the international language, metal, that kind of music transcends language barriers and cultural barriers, and seeing Metallica fans and metal fans in general all over the world, kind of sharing in such a great experience it is to see a show like this in the round. In the snake pit, sometimes I go down and watch the show from right up close, and it's almost like you're in a little club show until you take a step back and realize, oh shit, there's 80,000 people here. It's been amazing, and I can't wait to finish up these shows in North America with them.
A lot of time when a band is on tour, they don't get a chance to see anything but like the inside of the stadium. Have you been able to actually take in the cities while you've been on the road, and where have you loved?
It's sort of 50-50. Sometimes you get lucky and there's a day off before one of the shows. And I know when we played in Madrid with them a couple weeks ago, we had a show and a day off in Barcelona, which was really cool. We played our own show, and we got to spend time there. Amsterdam was really cool. Obviously, we've been to London several times. So whenever we can, whenever there is an opportunity, that it's not just, okay, we get there, we got to play the show and then leave. We always try to drink in the sights. But on this last tour, I would say Barcelona was my favorite spot. Just a beautiful city, great food, great people.
You talk about metal being this universal language. Did you feel as proud on Friday night, the night that the Olympics opened, watching Gojira on TV? I could not believe what I was seeing.
I got so many texts about that because I didn't happen to be watching it live. People that I know, that whether they're family or friends that aren't into metal, were like, did you see what this band was doing? It was absolutely incredible. And it just seemed like I didn't talk to a single person that wasn't blown away by that Gojira performance. And then obviously I got to watch it later on YouTube, and it was insane. And it's always good to see that kind of music from a great band like Gojira sort of let the mainstream know how great and talented these bands really are. Because I think a lot of times people maybe turn up their nose to, heavy metal, it doesn't take any skill. It's just yelling into a microphone. But it takes a performance in a band like that to really put what we do and where we come from on that, international spotlight and platform. So it was amazing.
You're getting into your season where you're extremely busy, because obviously we get into the fall, you get around Halloween, Silver Scream Con is coming back, and this year it is bigger, it is better than ever. It's 3 days at the DCU Center, where I saw my first concert, by the way. You're talking about your first concert. like you have expanded Silver Scream Con. So for people that don't know what it is, tell them what it is.
Well, really, I can't talk about Silver Scream Con and DCU Center, that whole area, without the grandfather, or the forefathers, rather, of the Halloween season in Massachusetts, which I look to as Spooky World. Which, of course, if you're from Massachusetts, growing up in the early to mid 90s, you know what that was, an unbelievable scream park. And then Rock and Shock, which was this great horror convention that took place at the DCU Center. So that's what really influenced me to put the Silver Scream Con together. And it's just really a celebration of all things heavy music and horror. And I'm so excited about this year's lineup. And I'll give you an exclusive. This will be the first time that I mention it. David Arquette is also joining the lineup, one of my favorite actors of the genre.
Way.
We got Danny Trejo. We've got our own, Massachusetts' own Eli Roth, who, of course, is a genre icon, who created the Hostel movies and Cabin Fever, and most recently Thanksgiving. He was really a protege of Tarantino. Tarantino kind of introduced him to the world, and this is his first horror convention in his home state. So I'm really excited about that. We've got unbelievable guests, including 3 of the most iconic actors from the original Halloween. We have PJ Souls, who of course plays Linda, Bob, who famously gets, knifed onto the in the kitchen, and we have Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers. We've got so many of the people that play Jason. We have Sean Cunningham, who created the Friday the 13th series, directed the original. I mean, it's just like an incredible lineup of modern horror stars. Like the Terrifier cast and crew is going to be there. It's just a real celebration of everything that I love in this world, horror and metal.
I'm excited because I'm going to be set up there as well. So, like, the whole weekend is just going to be me absorbing all of this craziness. I'm so psyched that you moved it to the DCU Center, expanded it, and that there's going to be a big show on Saturday night. I think it's awesome.
I can't wait. And Worcester and that whole area holds a special place for me because I think the first show we ever actually played, I know this for a fact, was a Battle of the Bands at the Palladium, which of course is right next door to the DCU Center. And I remember, I think it was 2001, and we invited everybody up on stage, and we thought we did awesome, but we lost. So I'm still bitter about the fact that we lost that Battle of the Bands.
I want to talk to you about horror movies because I look at you as being an expert. I talked to Slash because he loves them as well. And he put up this amazing tribute to Shelley Duvall when she passed away. And I asked him, do you think The Shining is the best horror movie ever? And he said no, because the Jack Nicholson character being cast gave up the ghost of him and his character being crazy. Because Jack Nicholson can't not look crazy. So from the minute you see him on screen, you know he's crazy. But in the book, you don't find out he's crazy right away. So what do you think the best horror movie is? And is there a favorite horror book for you and a different horror movie? Because he loves the book, I think, more than the movie.
I love The Shining. I think that it's if not one of the best horror movies of all time, I would put it in the top 10. And I would say that Jack Nicholson's performance in that is top 5 performances in any horror movie of all time. In terms of books, my favorite horror-centric book would have to be American Psycho, because I love a little comedy interspersed with my horror. So that Bret Easton Ellis novel is incredible. And if you've seen the movie and if you think that's violent, read the book, because it's absolutely, some of the scenes and detail they go into is grotesque. It's so hard for me to pick a favorite horror movie of all time. I could probably do a top 5. For me, Halloween is what started it all. For me personally, that was the first one I ever saw. Friday the 13th obviously took that blueprint and then added with it the genius effects of Tom Savini. So whereas Halloween was very more theater of the mind, where you didn't see too much of the actual gore and the knife really penetrating or anything, Friday the 13th came in and said, we're going to let it loose where these other guys didn't. So that ushered in a whole craze of gore and slashers in the 80s. And then for me, the next one that really brought it to a different level was almost 20 years later with Scream, because that took everything that I loved about the 80s slashers and put it into this really funny but still scary and brutal package. And in terms of modern horror, I think for years, really the last iconic slasher superhero, you think of these Michael and Jason and Freddy and Leatherface, they kind of became almost like comic book heroes, right, to a horror fan. And the last time before this one I'll just mention that became an iconic look was probably Ghostface and Scream. But I think undoubtedly the new face of horror in the last decade has been Art the Clown in this Terrifier franchise. It's an amazingly awesome throwback to the heyday of 80s gore, and Art the Clown, who is right over here on this vinyl I have. If you haven't seen Terrifier 1 and 2, you can't be a horror fan. You need to check it out, and the third one comes out in October. And I think that Art the Clown is carrying the gory torch for his forefathers. So come to Silver Scream Con and meet the entire cast of Terrifier.
Friday the 13th also did a really good job of tying in rock music to a horror movie too, with Dawkins and like all of that stuff, which there wasn't a lot of that done before, but all of a sudden now these movies are coming out with these amazing rock soundtracks too.
I know. You think about Dawkins, Nightmare on Elm Street, you think about Alice Cooper and Jason Lives.
That's what I meant. I meant Nightmare on Elm Street, not Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Man Behind the Mask. I feel like in the modern age, horror soundtracks have unfortunately kind of moved away a little bit from that. But I remember growing up and, movies like The Crow and even like Freddy vs. Jason, having an amazing soundtrack. So I hope to be involved in some scary movies in the very near future. So keep an eye on that. I've got some tricks up my sleeve that you'll be hearing about very soon.
Speaking of rock soundtracks, you guys collaborated with Real Big Fish. Speaking of American Psycho, on the comic series with Walking on Sunshine, a total cover song out of left field. At least I felt like that was not a song you guys would ever do.
Yeah, that was really funny how that came together. My friend Ash, who owns Sumerian Records, just always been a very smart, business savvy, entrepreneurial guy. Started a comic book offshoot of Sumerian called Sumerian Comics, and they officially licensed this really cool American Psycho comic book. Completely officially licensed with the IP, and he wanted to put out a soundtrack to go with it. And I think I'm very proud of this. When people think of American Psycho, at least in our world of metal and stuff, that we often get brought up because of our song "Hip to Be Scared" that we did a few years back, which was our tribute to the film. And he asked us to do a song, and I thought immediately it's got to be "Walking on Sunshine." I've always loved the dichotomy of happy poppy music with horrific imagery, and the last couple of years on our pre-show playlist, songs that would play before we go on, I always put Walking on Sunshine because it's from American Psycho. And I couldn't believe I would hear our crowd singing that song, singing the chorus. And I was sort of like, got me thinking when he was asking us what song to do. I was like, it's got to be Walking on Sunshine. I've always been a huge fan of ska punk music, and Real Big Fish has always been a favorite band of mine. And we asked them to do it, and it just worked out great. And we've played it twice live, once in Barcelona, and I can't remember where else we played it, but just a couple of weeks ago. And the crowd reaction when we played it was amazing. So I think it's going to be a staple, at least in our headlining sets for a long time to come. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's got to be one of those things when you guys are backstage for any band, when the crowd is rowdy enough that they're singing the songs before you go on, that's got to kind of tip you off that you might not have to work as hard to get the crowd into it because they're already into it.
It's always a good sign when you hear that, you know if the crowd's going to be electric or a little bit more laid back. But you need a good playlist before you get on stage to amp everybody up. It's like having a good opening band, right? You got to get them riled up. That's what we're going to try to do on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, it's no pressure. It used to be something that bands were scared to open up for Metallica because back in the day, you'd get stuff thrown at you. People would turn their backs to you. At least now Metallica fans are a little more welcoming to the openers.
Yeah, that was something that we definitely heard about. I remember, Avenged Sevenfold, who are buddies of ours, had told me, they'd opened for them several times, and I can't remember where they were, but he said that the whole crowd, when they were opening for Metallica, turned their back and gave them the middle finger. And I remember, are we going to be screwed here? But I gotta say, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't change at Foxborough, but the crowds have been, very respectful. I mean, obviously 99.9999% people in that building are there for Metallica. But they've given us really good receptions, and have been very respectful. And we've had a amazing time and experience opening for them.
On my show up at the Bone in Portland, Maine, we've been playing Suffocate City a lot. So I want to talk about your collaboration with Funeral Portrait.
Absolutely. I really like that band. And one of the first times I really got to meet them in person is happened last year when they opened the Silver Scream concert in Lynn at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium. And we were, very friendly with their whole management team. They're on the same record label that manages us, 10th Street and Better Noise. And it was just one of those situations where they sent the song to us. I'm flattered any time anyone wants me to be on their song. And when we were recording it, I was just like, this is a really great track with a really infectious, fun hook. And you can't ask for much more than that for a song like that. I was really impressed and happy to be a part of it.
You have a Knuckle Bones figurine coming out. I had a Mistress Carrie bobblehead made way back in the day. Okay, so I understand the process because they had to take the 360 pictures. We had meetings about what my nose was going to look like. Like, it was a lot of work to make like an effigy of yourself that's going to be mass produced. So what was it like for you? Because you're such a collectible guy that now you have your own collectibles and your own like statues and stuff. How is that process for you, seeing you being made into that?
I mean, it's so cool. And again, flattered that anyone wants an action figure or collectible of myself. We're just really fortunate to work with very talented artists that nail the bone structure, and it's got to be the right ass. You can't have the wrong ass attached to a collectible. So we spent about 6 months getting that right.
I was on a motorcycle on mine, so my ass was not a factor.
Oh, you were motorcycle, perfect.
Yeah, but the nose. I remember the meetings about the nose. That like everybody in the room was like, her nose isn't right or this isn't right. It was very weird having people talk about my body parts like I wasn't even in the room.
Yeah. That's why I stayed away from those meetings. They just submit the files to me and I'll thumbs up or thumbs down, make the ass nicer.
You always want to have a better ass.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
I remember all the collectibles I had growing up had great asses, so I wanted to make sure that I was in that club, the good ass club.
Well, you have a lot going on. You're at home. It's so weird to say this sentence. You're at home at your mom's house getting ready to open for Metallica at Gillette Stadium. That is a sentence.
I love that. I mean, it might be more rock star of me to stay at the Four Seasons, but that's not cool. I'm keeping it real with Mom.
What is she making for you? What's your favorite thing that Mom cooks for you? Because she's got to cook that for you while you're home.
I know. Well, she makes a really mean breakfast sandwich, so I can't wait to indulge in that, and that's what's going to fuel me to give the great performance at Gillette. So her breakfast sandwiches are unmatched.
And a three-way.
And I've been all over the world.
Did you have a three-way yet?
The first thing I did was I drove to Bill and Bob's. Yes. Right to Bill and Bob's. That was the only one. I love Bill and Bob's, and it happened to be the only one that was open last night. But man, they really set the mood for the North Shore vacation.
Yeah, it puts you right in the right mindset. I'm now home. It's all good.
And actually, I was at San Diego Comic-Con last weekend, and I'll give a little plug to my buddy. There's a place called Big Jim's Roast Beef in San Diego that was started by a fellow masshole that wanted to bring beef to a different part of the country. And really, I only agreed to do San Diego Comic-Con to get the sandwich. That's the only reason I did it. And it was fun. I did signing for our new comic book graphic novel, but I was really there for the sandwich. So if you're in San Diego, Big Jim's is where it's at.
Does it taste the same on the West Coast as it tastes on the East Coast?
As close as it possibly could. You know, he gets all of the ingredients and accoutrements just right. You know, you obviously got to have the James River sauce. And I don't know, I closed my eyes and I felt like I could be at Nick's Roast Beef or something.
That must have been a trip for you to sign at Comic-Con, because that's like the mecca for all of that stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was our second signing there. We work with this comic company, Z2, who have been absolutely awesome. And yeah, we just put out the sequel to our comic book, Inked in Blood 2. So make sure to check that out wherever comics are sold.
I am so excited to see you on Sunday, and so excited for Silver Screen Con this year too. I can't wait to see everybody out there, to get all the details about the big show on Saturday night in September that you haven't announced yet, that you refuse to tell me, but I'm not taking it personally.
It's okay. We can talk after we're off the air.
Well, I will see you on Sunday. I'll see you at the DCU. Lots going on with Ice Nine Kills. It's badass.
Thank you so much, Mistress Carrie. I love you deeply, and I will see you on Sunday.
There he is, Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills. If you were at the Metallica show on Sunday, August 4th, and you weren't able to see the band on stage, well, you can see Ice Nine Kills and In This Moment with Avatar and TX2 at the Palladium Outdoors on Saturday night, September 14th. Those tickets are on sale now. Check the links in the show notes of this episode for the link to get your tickets and the link to get more details on Silver Scream Con, the 3-day horror and metal festival that's taking over the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts. You'll also find the links to hear Spencer's other appearances on the show and to check out this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all the other artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. You'll also find all of Spencer's links and the links to Ice Nine Kills and, of course, the Mistress Carrie links. You can join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the sit rep with all your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. And you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.